So the disposition matrix is apparently something that exists inside the White House where they decide who goes on the kill list, who goes on a capture list. They've got their bios, etc. The Washington Post wrote a very long story about that. Let me begin to explain it to you. And in the beginning, it sounds like, hey, well, they should have a list like this. And some parts of it sound perfectly fine until you find out the rest of the story. So, first of all, the Post explains, U.S. officials said the database is designed to go beyond existing kill lists, mapping plans for the disposition of suspects beyond the reach of American drones. So, okay, fair enough. We want to capture some people. We don't want to use drones to kill everybody. So we're going to figure out where you go, or where you get disposed, I suppose, in some of these cases. Now, do you know that we are now getting close to the number 3,000 for the number of people we have killed with our drone strikes? Now, that includes militants and civilians. Now, 3,000 is an interesting number. Of course, on 9/11, nearly 3,000 Americans died when Al-Qaeda hit us. Now, are all the people who were hitting Al-Qaeda? Unfortunately, no. There are a lot of civilians in there. Now, at the same time, we've done some things the right way. So some of the drone strikes are correct. They're on the right people. They've gone through all the different channels to make sure that we've got the right people. And in some cases, we're not even using drone strikes, which I like. For example, there was an Al-Qaeda operative apparently named Ahmed Abdulkadir Warsami. And here's how the Post explains what happened to him. Warsami was held for 2 months aboard a U.S. ship before being transferred to the custody of the Justice Department and charged in federal court in New York. Now, that's actually great. Why is it great? Because we didn't just indiscriminately bomb people. We had a target. We wound up capturing the target, which is more ideal. We held him in a ship for a couple of months, and then we brought him here and tried him in federal court. That's how it's supposed to go. So things aren't always going wrong here. Sometimes they do it exactly right. And in fact, the U.S. Joint Special Operations Command has outposts in different parts of Africa and the Middle East that said they could, so that they could launch counterterrorism strikes with actual personnel. So remember, that's the kind of hit that we did on Osama bin Laden, and I was very much in favor of that. Not just because we were targeting bin Laden, but we had guys on the ground, we knew who we were getting, and we got that guy. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot right with that. So that's the right way to approach it, and I'm glad that they're working on that. Now, they also mentioned in the article, oh, by the way, I mean, we're not going to do drone strikes in places like Turkey or Iran. Let's keep it real. Why? Because Turkey's an ally and would get really, really mad if you violated their airspace, and they're significant, the second largest army in NATO. Iran is the opposite. Well, if we do a drone strike there, we might start a war. So in other words, we do these kind of strikes on countries that can't really protect themselves. So if you're Somalia or Yemen and you don't have a lot of power, we're going to bulldoze you. Now, here comes the disturbing parts. Now, look, it looks like there's a lot of consideration that goes into this because you got Special Command, you got U.S. Central Command, you got the CIA that's working on this, and it's all being organized by the Counterterrorism Center. Now, they're not the ones that give the information. The Counterterrorism Center, but led by Brennan, analyzes the information given and then makes the ultimate decision. Oftentimes, it goes up to the president himself if you're outside of Pakistan. Inside Pakistan, have at it, Hoss. All right, now, a little loose, but roughly true. So now let me break down the problems here. So Washington Post says that timeline suggests, referring to a timeline that they spoke to administration officials about, that the United States has reached the midpoint of what was once known as the global war on terrorism. Targeting lists that were regarded as finite emergency measures after the attacks of September 11th, 2001, are now fixtures of the national security apparatus. The rosters expand and contract with the pace of drone strikes, but never go to zero. So, in other words, welcome to permanent war. We have always been at war. I feel like I read that in a book somewhere, right? And so now they say that we've reached a midpoint at best. A midpoint of what? So they say that we're going to go for at least another 10 years on this global war on terror using sometimes special forces, which I think is the better way to go, sometimes drone strikes, perhaps sometimes more. But what's interesting is that the kill list never ends, and the disposition matrix is never shut down. It remains open forever, disposing and disposing and disposing of people, whether it's killing or capturing. Washington Post continues. Now, less visible is the extent to which the Obama has institutionalized the highly classified practice of targeted killing, transforming ad hoc elements into a counterterrorism infrastructure capable of sustaining a seemingly permanent war. Now that's really important because here it is. We're never going to stop the war on terrorism. They've institutionalized it. And they make a great point about how things used to be. They say before the attacks of September 11th of 2001, the United States recoiled at the idea of targeted killing. Now, nobody seems to remember that because we're now in such a war machine that we think like, oh, of course, anybody who we think is a bad guy that made it onto some sort of list, we kill him, we bomb him, etc. No, back before 2001, targeted killing seemed incredibly controversial and something that you had to put a tremendous amount of thought into. And it would be, why? Because it was an assassination. And the United States of America was not supposed to do assassinations. Now they've become so commonplace. In fact, exactly what the Post explains, quote, targeted killing is now so routine that the Obama administration has spent much of the past year codifying and streamlining the processes that sustain it. We're streamlining killings now, targeted killings. And sometimes, by the way, with the drone strikes, non-targeted killings, as we'll get to in a little bit. Now, they say for an administration that is the first to embrace targeted killing on a wide scale, officials seem confident that they've devised an approach that is so bureaucratically, legally, and morally sound that future administrations will follow suit. Well, that's exactly what I'm afraid of. You've built this killing machine, you've called it the disposition matrix, and you say, don't worry, because future administrations will do likewise. No, that's what I'm worried about. So now they say internal doubts about the effectiveness of the drone campaign are almost non-existent. Now that's really important because look, in the short term, sometimes you get the right guy. Unfortunately, a lot of times you get the wrong guy. We've killed, unfortunately, so many different civilians, but it has a secondary problem, not just that you're killing the wrong people, but it causes more people to want to fight against you. And so inside the White House, it appears, based on this Washington Post story of people within the administration, that they've kind of lost sight of, hey, what's our long-term objective here? We keep adding people to the list. We keep taking them off the list by killing them or capturing them. And we add more people to the list. And the list never ends. That's because it turns out these drone strikes might be counterproductive. Because every time you kill someone, there's their entire family who wants to kill you back. And then you got to put them on the list. Now, Paul Pillar is a former deputy director of the CIA's Counterterrorism Center. So he would know a thing or two about this. And he says, when we institutionalize certain things, including targeted killing, it does cross a threshold that makes it harder to cross back. Of course, we're not crossing this back. This war is never going to end. The Matrix is never going to be retired. That list is never going to finish. We're going to keep on killing and killing and killing until more people want to kill and kill us. And when you look at that, the defense contractors have work for the rest of time. Paul Pillar continues. He says, we have to pay particular attention, maybe more than we collectively have so far, to the longer-term pros and cons to the methods we use. Now, unfortunately, that is not what we do. As we just told you, the administration, I think, based on the reporting here, has lost track. They're just looking at the short term. Who's on the list and who do we have to eliminate? They've lost track of the long term. In fact, when Panetta, our defense secretary, went to go talk to his counterpart in Pakistan, that general asked him, he said, look, you've now you've done hundreds of drone strikes, and you have a top 20 list. That doesn't compute. Haven't you already run through your top 20? And the answer is, of course they have. But you know what? They've added more. In fact, the kill list in Pakistan has slipped, they say, to fewer than 10, but it used to be over 24. But it still hasn't run out. They went through the 20. They say, oh, well, don't worry, we're at a lower number. But in Yemen, they say the number of militants on the list has ranged from 10 to 15, but it also hasn't run out. In fact, a former senior U.S. counterterrorism official says, quote, is a person currently number 4 as good as the number 4 7 years ago? Probably not, but it doesn't mean he's not dangerous. So you know how they always tell you, oh, we got the number 2 guy in Al-Qaeda. Oh, we got the number 3. We got the number 4 guy. He's saying, well, the number 4 guy we're down to, I mean, it's a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. He used to be number 48, but we killed so many people, he's at number 4. But we can't run out of people. We got to keep those drones humming. That is not the right way to do counterterrorism, obviously. Now, CIA Director David H. Petraeus, this is the really disturbing part, according to the Washington Post, says, is pushing for an expansion of the agency's fleet of armed drones. Now, why is that disturbing? We already have drones. Wait a minute. The CIA is a central intelligence agency. Their job is supposed to collect intelligence, not to kill people, not to do drone strikes. That's a military task. Apparently, not anymore. Quote, the proposal, which would need White House approval, reflects the agency's transformation into a paramilitary force and makes clear that it does not intend to dismantle its drone program and return to its pre-September 11th focus on gathering intelligence. So now the CIA is a paramilitary group, and they are never going to go back. They've got their own drones. The military has their own drones. They're flying everywhere. Everybody's got a list. They're checking it twice and killing it twice. Now here comes the really disturbing part, which is sometimes we don't even know who we're killing. Now, I've reported this to you in the past because of articles quoting administration officials, but here it is again if you weren't clear in this particular article. The review process is compressed but not skipped when the CIA, or JSOC as they call it, has compelling intelligence and a narrow window in which to strike, officials said. So that's part one, which is, hey, look, we're really careful with this stuff. We built a nice bureaucratic machine, except sometimes we got to do it in a hurry, in which case, we don't really check off all the boxes. We just kind of go quicker. All right, now here comes the second part. The approach also applies to the development of criteria for signature strikes, which allow the CIA and JSOC to hit targets based on patterns of activity, packing a vehicle with explosives, for example, even when the identities of those who would be killed is unclear. Now, oftentimes it's not explosives, it's simply guns. And I got news for you. There's a lot of guns in Yemen. Lots of guns in Pakistan. You know where there's lots of guns? The United States of America. In fact, Yemen comes in number 2 in guns per capita. We're number 1. If you did drone strikes based on gun ownership here in the US, you might kill 90% of us. So these guys are killing people when it is unclear who it is, sometimes in a hurry, and sometimes based on, oh, look at that, there's some weapons down there. As I've told you many times, that's why we hit so many weddings, because they bring guns to weddings to celebrate by firing into the air. Big mistake, you just had your whole wedding wiped out by a drone. Why? Because we didn't know who we were bombing, but we just had to use that drone. I mean, we got a whole disposition matrix. And if it turns out we had to dispose of your wedding or your family members, well, that's a sad day for you, because our war machine is permanent and it has to keep on humming. This is sick, man. This is not what America was supposed to be. And gee, I wonder why we're not liked in Muslim countries where we do these kind of bombings. Why do they hate us? I can't quite figure it out. And by the way, it's not just President Obama. Mitt Romney says, oh, he can't wait. Now, here, I'm going to go to some videos, Mark. At the debate, if you remember, Mitt Romney, this is video 13. At the debate, Mitt Romney said, killing? What name so?
But we can't kill our way out of this mess.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, well, we can't. So he's going to get rid of disposition matrix, right? And he's going to get rid of the drone program, right? Not so much. He also said this.
It's widely reported that drones are being used in drone strikes, and I support that entirely and feel the president was right to up the usage of that technology.
Fantastic. No matter who's in charge, a Republican or a Democrat, Romney or Obama, the matrix keeps on going. And we keep on killing, and we keep on wondering, gee, I wonder why they don't like us.